We are a sales enablement, channel development, and marketing agency based in Vienna. We've been around for 15 years. In fact, this month we are celebrating our anniversary, which we're quite excited about. And I'm going to talk to you today about one of our flagship products or services that we're running and some of the results and research that we've generated because of it. So let me first give you some background on the program, how it started. So in 2015, I was sitting actually with Microsoft, one of our clients, and we were talking about how the industry keeps discussing customer journey mapping, customer experience, and the fact that if you improve your customer experience, you will be able to have happier customers, but you will also be able to reduce abandonment rates and you will raise your revenue. And we thought this sounded like a really great idea, but we wanted to see, does this actually prove true in a day-to-day environment? And can we commercially attach improving customer experience to revenue? So what we did is, if you can move to the next slide, we went through a process of creating a program where we looked at not whether or not a customer was happy overall after purchasing with the experience with their supplier, and because that is something that you get from a Net Promoter Score. But what we wanted to do is say, in the very important moment of purchasing, where I decide, am I going to purchase or am I going to go somewhere else? Am I going to put this company on my short list and continue to engage in the sales process, or am I going to go to another website? Where I make that decision, what sort of experience do I want to see in order to make me buy? And if you click on the slide, given COVID-19 and the current pandemic, this has become even more important. We speak with many companies who are very, very proud of the fact that their sales process is based on face-to-face and that they have a fantastic relation with prospects and customers face-to-face. Well, today, and even before COVID-19, we were seeing that buyers' expectations were that they were able to use the website as part of the sales process or part of the sales team, where they could do it yourself, gather information, and then make a decision as to whether or not they wanted to speak live, in person, or virtually on the telephone to a potential company that they would buy from. So when we started the program in 2015, we had a hunch, we wanted to prove something. And since then, what we've seen is that companies that improve their customer experience by testing it from an outside source and then make those improvements are seeing year over year up to 30% increases in revenue. And the program was credited at the end of 2018 with an incremental $14 million worth of business. Can you go to the next slide? So let me give you an overview of the IT telco global B2B market. We looked at over 550 and growing different companies that fit into that category, all different shapes and sizes. And what we did is we looked at the in-the-moment buying process, which included today over 160 different data points that we look at. And the way we go about this process is we follow a journey. So we start with the whole digital footprint, and that is not just search with Google. It also includes your social activities, be they social media or social selling. And it includes the website. And that is all that first part of the journey. How do I find you if I want to buy something and I don't know the name of your company? How do I then educate myself about who your customers are, how you work with them, what kind of offers you have, whether or not those offers would be relevant for me. We then go into the company's natural sales process. And from experience, I can tell you this is going to be a combination of email, web forms, chat. In Latin America, they still use fax. We don't test fax, but they still use it. And telephone. And if you're looking at buying something simple, that might be such as a walkie-talkie, that might be a single call, or Office 365 from our previous presenter, Microsoft 365 moving forward. Or if it's something that's much more complex, such as a hardware and software scenario, such as printers and software, or we had mentioned Microsoft products earlier, so Azure, there may be several different conversations that take place. And what we do is we then move to proposal. So what kind of a proposal process is there? And how does that work? And then, if appropriate, we purchase. And we look at the purchasing and onboarding process. And in all of those shopping experiences or assessment experiences, what we're finding is that 86% of the companies, and this is global, are losing sales opportunities. Maybe they're losing them on one day, on the day that we happen to assess them, or maybe it's a systematic problem or procedural problem within the organization. If you look at the box here to the right, it's actually 14% of those 550 companies actually closed the deal. 40% do not close it. The reason they're not closing it is because, first, there's a group of companies that are challenged with being found by net new buyers. Meaning, if I don't know the name of your company, if I'm not already a customer and I go to Google, or I look in social, or I look in other search tools such as Bing, and I can't find you, if you do not pop up on pages 1, 2, or 3, then I will simply shop from somebody else who is on pages 1, 2, or 3. And somebody had said to me once, where do you hide dead bodies in Google? And the answer is obviously page 2 of Google. So the goal of the exercise is to be on page 1, with keywords that do not relate to your company and do not relate to your location in order to be found by prospects. Of that group, there's also 20% that are very good actually with that prospecting and being found by prospects. And marketing organization functions quite well. However, when we go into purchase, what we do find is that there are problems within the sales process, and they can be technology-based, they can be process-based, sometimes they're people-based, but more often than not, there's something from a process perspective within the organization that leads us to decide not to purchase or make it impossible for us to purchase. For example, major calls to action that say buy here or contact us here that go to broken links frustrate buyers and mean that we go to somebody else's website to purchase. Can you go to the next slide? Now this slide has a lot of moving parts, so hopefully you can stop, go back. So as I said, we go through that whole process. There are over 160 different elements that we look at. And what I wanted to share with you today is some practical advice. Without going through a process, such as being assessed, or if you choose to do so, you can get an idea of what sort of information you will find. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit about best practices that we see in the market, common trends, and also some areas where we know that certain things are happening in the market where companies are losing business. And so these are the things, obviously, if we identify them for you, you identify them for yourself, or you suspect that they're happening, they're the things you want to fix first in order to make sure that you're keeping those prospects in your funnel, in your sales process, and then converting them to customers. So let's start with the discovery and awareness phase, which I talked about. And this, as I said, includes search. And in a moment, when I finish this, we'll move to the social selling and the website component of it. So 92% of companies globally have a responsive website. So basically, this is something that you need to have. Why? Well, today's buyers do not only conduct search or look at websites on a PC. Sometimes they do it from a mobile device, telephone, or an iPad. And you want to make sure that the quality of experience is as good as it would be on a Macintosh or a PC. The 92% means that most of the companies are doing that, so you can pretty much be sure that your competition is doing that, for example. The majority of companies that we've looked at have easy site navigation, so 94%. I can tell you in the last 2 months, because we've had a number of companies come to us and say, given COVID-19, we should have done this before, or we've done it before, but we want to do it again. We want to make sure that everything's in place and top-notch given today's environment. So while the majority of them companies have very good search navigation on the website, we had a number of companies in the last 2 months that didn't. So what we were seeing is if you go to the top search, either too many technical terms, meaning it was as though we were talking to each other instead of to end user prospects in the market, using terms such as CSP, which anyone in the Microsoft world knows what that is very well, but an end user doesn't know what that means. And if you're looking at an indirect partner-to-partner approach, a net new partner prospect might also not know what that means. So they would be confused. Or what we're seeing at the navigation stage is quite often when websites are very old, you get landing pages or new information piled on top. And what that means is you get a lot of things in the navigation, but from an end user perspective, it's overwhelming. They don't know where to go. There are maybe 2 or 3 different areas that might possibly cover what they're looking to purchase, but it's not crystal clear. So clean them up and make sure that you aren't using too many technical terms and that it's crisp and clear. 64% have a corporate page on LinkedIn and are ready for social selling. So while they're present there, I can tell you that a few companies are actually actively running content from their LinkedIn pages. While there's a presence there, and while we see that many employees from companies are on LinkedIn, this is a whole area that is not being used to its potential. And if you get in there early and start doing it now, you will be ahead of the majority of the market. I can't say enough for LinkedIn and the value of it. When done right, first, that's where all your customers and prospects are, especially now. And second, if you do it right and you are authentic with what you're doing, you will see inbound. And that should be the goal of any social activity that you're doing, unless you're simply looking for a job, but then you would also want to have inbound coming to you, trying to get you to move to another company. Moving to some of the negative things that we've seen in search. Only 34% of the companies have search on their website. Now that sounds like a really silly thing. Why would I even care about that? Well, I'll tell you. If I have to go to your website and read everything on the website in order to find what I'm looking for, you can imagine about how long I will stay there and do that. That's just the nature of buying today. Second, and I found this out from our buyers because we do this in over 20 different languages, which means that we have lots of different people who buy for us. What I found out is when a website does not have a search function, they go back to Google and use the term they're searching for to try to come back onto your website. Now think of how many times I might do that while I'm looking to shop for something that you have, and what the odds are that I am going to either get fed up with it or bounce into somebody else's website, meaning leave your shop and go to somebody else's. Also in search, only 9% of companies can actually be found on page 1. And I mentioned that earlier in my summary. So let's move on now to the website and social selling a little bit deeper. So on the best practice side, or the positive side, 61% of the companies that we assessed highlight their partnership logos, and actually just a small caveat, and the right logos, not old ones that are out of date. Why is this important? Well, first of all, it makes your partners happy, so good partner relationships, and I could probably also put some sort of I could definitely put a commercial value on that one as well, and I'm sure you could also, but why not shine a light on your competencies? It doesn't have to necessarily be technical competencies, but if you're working with large companies who have brands that are respected in this business, or if you're working with clever medium or smaller companies who also bring something special to the table, why not shine a light on that and show the company you're keeping? People buy from people. They always have. It's even more true today since the launching of sites where people put referrals and suggest, other companies and other people that have actually bought these products and services. And it allows you to see, well, if a company like this bought there, then it might be good enough for me as well. So it's a fantastic opportunity, and many companies do not take advantage of it, but 61% of the market is. 44% of the websites are using language, as I said earlier, that is too technical. Let's stay in the Microsoft world for a minute. And it's not just here that it's happened, but what we can see historically is Microsoft has made a very clear effort to push partners to transform over the years and to stop being extremely technical in their descriptions. And there's a group of companies out there that have not moved from that space, and they're still extremely technical. And if you're not an IT manager or you don't know the technology, it's not going to relate to you. It's not going to be a site that you want to purchase from. There's another group of companies that have started to move in the right direction, and you will see a mixture. And this is good, and it shows the progress, and probably shows where they've tested a few things, and some things have stuck and worked, and some haven't. But now's the time to go in and really try to clean that up and move to the best practice, which is where companies are selling to multiple personas, not just the IT manager, but maybe the CEO, or maybe the CFO, or the marketing manager, or others within the organization. And they're speaking in normal terms like you and I are speaking today. They're not talking about technologies that are not relevant. They're talking about business outcomes. And the websites are selling as consultative sites. And these are the companies that are the better practice, and the what you should be aiming to get to. And I happen to know that the presenter after me is CEO of WireHive, and they have a website that sells consultatively. So if you're looking for something to look at or a website as an example, you may want to go there. So Robert has done a case study with us, and so I'm able to mention his company's name. Let's move into some of the negative things or challenges that companies are having. So 38% only are showing an understanding of the buyer on the website. So our buyers go on to the website and they can see their problems, their challenges. They can see that your company can fix them. So there's a big percentage of the market that are not doing that. And that's what I'm talking about when I say get more into a consultative approach versus just looking to take an order. 56% are not providing relevant testimonials. So as much as we want you to show and shine a light on your partners, bring your customers into your website, bring them into your sales process, bring them into your proposals. It can be a quote. It can be a full testimonial. It can be a video. Videos are the best, by the way. Keep that in mind. But 56% are not telling us what kinds of companies they work with, who their happy customers are, and they must have lots of them. And they're missing that opportunity. So if you don't have any on your website, here's a little advice for free. Go and get a customer, put them in front of your iPhone, have a 3-minute conversation with them, and put it on your website. You will be ahead of a good percentage of your competition. Only 21% are using a referral program, and this is true this is generally true in B2B. We have found out through the sales process that there are some companies that do offer a referral program, but they talk about it in the sales process. So that's good. Or they may mention it in their proposals, which is also good. But if you do that, get it onto your website. Make sure people are aware of that. 52% do not have a newsletter sign-up possibility on their website. So this means that there's a missed opportunity. If I'm interested in actually giving you my real email address and wanting to stay in contact, whether I buy from you today or whether I buy from you in 6 months or in 6 years, it means that I am willing to take a step closer to you and a step closer in the sales process. So please put a sign up to a newsletter or to gated content of some sort on your website. So if people do want to give you that information and are asking you to stay in touch with them, you can do that. Let's move into what affects purchasing. So the sales experience. 56% of sales reps that we speak with, and this is in multiple languages, take initiative and lead sales process. So there's still a lot of companies out there that have sales reps that unfortunately, and this could be the sales rep or it could be the sales process they're trained on. Keep that in mind as well. So where they actually take us through and say, this is the next step in our sales process. This is how we buy. This is what you need to do next. If you do purchase, this is how you get started, etc. That whole process or timeline for onboarding, many companies are still missing that. And that could be something that actually, if you get me onboarded faster or you get the sale closed faster, your profitability goes up as well. And you have a happier customer at the start. 54% of sales reps are using purchase triggers. So don't sell past the close. I worked at IBM. That was something that we said quite often. They're not recognizing that our buyers are ready to buy and they're not trying to close the deals. So still some refinements that could take place in many of the cases where we assess. 57% of companies do not have an online chat function. And I know a lot of this has to do with resourcing. Some of it might have to do with you've not quite found the right AI application. But the reality is that most mature markets are using chat, and it's to keep me on the page. It's to answer questions via chat that I don't have to ask a sales rep. So when I enter into a conversation with a sales rep, quicker time to close because some of my questions have already been answered. Think about it if you don't have it. Less than half of the companies that we assess, or 45%, the sales rep actually addresses upsell opportunity. So this is a huge miss with many companies. Upsell, cross-sell, looking at that not just because you've got a clever salesperson that knows how to do that in a sales call, but let's systematically take a step back. Have you done your solution mapping? Have you done your product or software road mapping so that you can see exactly what an ideal buying process would look like against a specific type of customer or a specific kind of buying scenario? So think about doing that, and if you can up your cross and upsell, you keep customers longer, you make more money, it's probably more profitable depending on how you price your accessories, etc. So also, challenge side, 38% of buyers are able to actually get through to the sales rep on the first call. 38%. Within the last 2 months, I think we've had 5 companies where we have